Let's bring in our Fox 6 anchor, Ted Perry, who, while we've been watching this document, he's actually been listening to the words spoken in court today. You know, Ted, we started this morning knowing that Chief Judge Carl Ashley would likely be called to the stand. That's a very important person in the county courthouse, in the larger policy issues here. But it seems like this clerk, Alan Freed, this has been the testimony that could really make or break the government's case so far that we've heard, Ted.
He is one of them for sure. And let me just back up because you guys give a lot of information and good information there. But you mentioned Walter Peel, who has not yet testified. I got to think we're going to hear from him because that tape you just mentioned, Freed, the clerk, is talking to Peel. And Peel says, stop talking. I don't want to we're being mic'd. We're being recorded. Just stop talking. So I would be very surprised if the government does not call him as a witness because he clearly knew something was amiss and told Freed, who wanted to enter into a conversation with him about what was happening, and Peel said, nope, don't want any part of it. Let's go over today's headlines, and we'll bring out the whiteboard for that. Today's headline, DoorDash, because this is what we talked about a lot
This
today.
Isn't back to your lunch delivery plans, right, as we see the sandwich on the heater yesterday?
Had another sandwich on the heater today.
We'll get to lunch. This is more serious. Dugan is the first one, and you hear it on tape, down the stairs. That's the first mention of taking the stairs. ADA bus, Melissa bus. And let me just say this. If the judge yesterday threw Hannah Dugan under the bus, then ADA bus with two S's parked it on her today, and the clerk, Alan Freed, as much as he tried, could not save her from that bus. So we'll get back to these headlines here. ADA bus says she was confused and frustrated that Dugan and De La Rosa and Eduardo Flores Ruiz were going out that jury door.
Hey, Ted, just to jump in here real quick, because a lot of people listening are probably not, lawyers as well versed in trials as we may be. ADA, that's Assistant District Attorney Melissa Buss, who was there to see that case against Eduardo Flores Ruiz, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, she was the one who was prosecuting that case, and we'll get to that in a second. The clerk Freed, Alan Freed Jr., that you just talked about, who is himself a attorney. He was a disabilities attorney for many years. He admitted that he called an ICE agent in the hallway a fascist. So you know what his point of view is and where he's coming from. All right, we'll bring in another camera here if you're ready to go. Just so people can understand the layout here, this is Judge Dugan's courtroom. And this is the public hallway out here where you saw everything. Who are the characters? Well, we'll let ADA Melissa Buss, the Assistant District Attorney. Buss is B, she's blue. De La Rosa, the attorney, is here in red. Eduardo Flores Ruiz is in green, and here's the judge. This is the door they went out, okay? Dugan instructing them out that door. She herself does not go out into the hallway. They come down this hallway here, and this is what Buss says she was so confused about, that she had never seen that. She had never seen a defendant go out that door before. If they were to go left, they would have gone down a flight of stairs. Those had to be the stairs that Dugan was referencing. Did she say go down the stairs? No, she just threw out the possibility of down the stairs. Let's be clear about that. But De La Rosa and Eduardo Flores Ruiz came out into the public hallway where, represented by my Ricola pieces, there were two ICE agents right there in the hallway. So if this was an escape route, it didn't do them any good because they walked right into the hands of agents who eventually followed them down and out of the building. So that is what was confusing to ADA Melissa Buss, who said it was just so odd, I was frozen by the whole thing. She did not hear this case go, quote unquote, off the record. The Flores Ruiz case was bumped ahead of Walter Peel's case. Walter Peel was there representing someone else, and we'll get to that later on this afternoon, perhaps. But the question is, she didn't understand why this case was taken off the record, didn't hear it, even on cross-examination when the tape was played. Jason Luzak, the defense attorney, said, you didn't hear that? You didn't hear the judge say off the record? And she said, no, I didn't hear, and it would pertain to me. I would need to know that as the assistant district attorney who was prosecuting this case. So between Buss today and Freed, a lot of damaging testimony that the defense is going to have to counter.
Here's the other thing about that door as well, Ted, and you were referencing a lot the Assistant District Attorney there, Melissa Buss, but again, back to the clerk, Alan Freed, who you were very right to point out, if you're wondering what side of this political debate, the reason this trial has received such large attention across the nation, Alan Freed falls on, well, he says that he was a little bit outraged when he learned that ICE agents were in the courthouse, and then again admitted to calling one of those agents kind of under his breath a fascist as they walked by. Well, Alan Freed was asked by federal prosecutors there in that courthouse this morning, could he ever, about that jury door and the fact that Eduardo Flores Ruiz, a defendant, went through that door, Alan Freed says he cannot recall ever seeing a defendant go through a jury door over thousands of cases. And again, that was clarified. Was that the only time you've ever seen a defendant go through that jury door? Correct, was his answer.
And more important, they would never be allowed without the judge's permission to go through that door. Freed, I think we can best describe him as a reluctant witness. He was purposely vague at times. Every time he answered a question that was directly where he had no wiggle room, it's almost as if he can sense that this was helping the government's case. He is an attorney himself, as I mentioned, and he seemed quite reluctant to answer. In fact, at one time, he answered a question and then said, no, I want to strike that and re-answer it, something a normal witness would not do, but one who's an attorney and trained with a legal background obviously knew, nope, I didn't want to say just that. I want to strike that and say something different.